Hello everyone, welcome to our new tutorial. This week, we will be sketching an electric kettle, but this time it's not going to be from side view, it's going to be from perspective, so it's going to be more three-dimensional. But we will apply the same techniques that we have learned in previous class. And we're going to render this object, this electric kettle, with plastic materials, and it's going to have both glossy plastic and matte plastic. And we already know that with matte plastic we have soft transitions, whereas in glossy plastic part we have some random transitions and sharper transitions. So those are the techniques that we're going to apply. But on a three-dimensional object. So I have this sample sketch over here, but we're going to start sketching that from scratch. First, we have to decide the proportions of the electric kettle that we're going to sketch from side view. So we can create a small sample over here, side view here. Roughly, it's going to be, the bounding box is going to be about 3 by 2. So if the height of my electric kettle is 3 units, the width is going to be 2 units. And then it's going to be slightly tapered, so it's going to be more like a truncated, but not too much. Just slightly, that much. And the handle is going to be about half of that distance. So if it's 2 units, the handle will be about 1 unit wide, and it will go vertical, and the bottom part of that handle could be angular, like that. And the spout part is going to be 1/4 of that surface, so it's going to be 0.5 units, and it's going to be just a simple triangle shape. And we have the charging dock. The height is going to be similar to the width of that part, that triangle. And we're going to have that cord. And maybe we can have an opening over here to show the water level. Okay, so those are the proportions that we're going to have. Here we can also show the thickness of our handle here. All right. Afterwards, we have to decide where the light is coming from. So I'm keeping it standard. I'm always having the light coming from the left-hand side. It's kind of top left-hand side. So let's draw a cube here. So the light will be coming from this direction, which means this side is going to be the brightest. If I render this surface with T1 or no marker at all, that means this part is going to be T3 and this part is going to be darkest, which is going to be T5. So those are the underlay colors that I'm going to use when I'm rendering my object. And my line weight is going to be consistent with those colors that I'm using. So if it's darker here, if I'm using darker shade of gray here, which means I'm going to apply more line weight on these edges here. And then the front surface will have a lighter line weight. So it's very important to keep everything consistent. All right, I guess we are ready to sketch. We will start with the center axis of our cylinder, the container part. So center axis is very important. Make sure that it's straight. Don't rush, don't be too slow when you're drawing, don't use your wrist, use your arm. As I said, if you use your wrist, it will be curved because your wrist will act as a pivot point. Instead, use your whole arm. So, and don't draw too slow, otherwise your line will be shaky. And it's not going to be too dark because it's just going to be a construction line. So let's start with the center axis. Okay, so that's my center axis. And then I will decide the height. So it's going to be somewhere, the top surface is going to be somewhere here, and the bottom of my kettle is going to be somewhere there. Now I'm going to draw a perpendicular line. And same at the bottom. And maybe I can add a, indicate that charging dock. Charging dock is going to be about that much. So it should have a similar proportions. So it should be somewhere around here. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to decide the width of my electric kettle. So if that is 3 units, it should be roughly about that much. Okay, make sure that it's symmetrical. That width has to be the same as that width. And at the top, it's going to be slightly tapered, so it's going to be something about that much. Okay, again, I'm checking if they're symmetrical or not. And yeah, I believe it's the same proportions as I did over here. If you're not sure, you can use ruler, but I really don't recommend using any rulers. But if it's going to ruin the overall beauty of your drawing, then it's okay to do your couple of initial sketches with the ruler, but eventually try stop using ruler in your final projects. Okay, now we're going to place our ellipses, and I have to decide the angle of view. So am I going to see the top surface more, or am I going to be sitting closer to that eye level and seeing the top surface less? So I think I should be seeing a little bit of that top surface so that I can add those details, that cap detail, the button detail, so those details are visible. As you know from PD 223, when we are drawing cylinders or truncated cones, the top surface of these objects will appear narrow, smaller to our eye because they're closer to our eye level. Therefore, they will look much more thinner, whereas the bottom parts will look much wider. Okay, so keep that in mind. So the top the top surface will appear much smaller, narrow, compared to the bottom parts. The bottom parts will be much wider. So let's go ahead and apply that. So first of all, I'm deciding the width of my ellipse. And I'm just moving my arm around that area. And then once I'm satisfied with the width, I'm going to start drawing it. Okay, so the top surface is going to be that wide, but the bottom one is going to appear much wider. It's closer to a circle. Don't worry about the amount of lines that you're using. Once we apply marker, those lines won't be visible. And in the next step, I'm going to connect those tangential points. So I'm going to get the tangent point of this ellipse and connect with that other tangent point. Again, I am applying line weight. Since the light is coming from left-hand side, this part is going to appear lighter than this part. Sorry. So this part is going to appear darker. I can apply a couple of lines to darken it. And I'm going to place another ellipse for the charging dock. So it's going to be similar to that one, but not wide as this one, slightly smaller, but not as small as this top one. Okay, so try to get the lines perfect. Again, don't worry about if you do multiple passes. Once we add that dark colors, those lines won't be visible. Okay, so I guess we are done with the container part. The next step is deciding the direction of the handle is going to be perfectly 180 degrees, or is it going to be more angled? So decide that. I'm going to keep it slightly angled. So to decide that, I'm going to use this center point as a reference, and I'm going to draw a line that's going through that center point. So, and keep that line nice and long. So that is the direction of my handle, and also the spout part. And when I check my proportions, the length of my handle, the width of my handle is about the size of the radius over here. So if this is 1 unit, the handle should be 1 unit. So if this is 1 unit, it should be about that much. Okay. And that triangular part is going to be smaller. So it's going to be half of that radius. So roughly about that much. And we can place that triangle. So my triangle should be placed here. And it should intersect with my ellipse, and they have to be symmetrical. So that distance needs to be same as that distance. And then afterwards I can maybe front part of my spot could be also flat, and then I can add the other edges to complete that triangle. So make sure your lines are going to the same direction. So if this is going this direction, it can't go this direction or that direction. It has to be almost parallel to that one. They should slightly converge, but if you can't converge them, at least try to get them parallel to each other. Then we're going to do the same here. So that is the width of my handle. And if it's going that direction, my handle should be going that direction as well. All right. Now let's decide the height of my handle. It's going to be vertical line going through this dot. And afterwards, this is I'm going to decide that height, which is going to be about that much, maybe roughly here. And I will find the intersecting point and draw a line that is parallel to my edge. And this part is going to be angled. So if it's going that direction, it should go up here because of that line. All right, I have the center axis of my handle. Now I can add the thickness for my handle. So my handle is going to be about that wide, so that it's easier to grab. And I'm going to draw lines that are parallel to my center axis. And find the intersecting points. And before that, draw the same line, same angle down here. Okay, and maybe I can put the same line there. As you can see, all of my lines are going to the same direction. And using those intersecting points, I'm going to draw vertical lines. And find the other two intersecting points. And from those intersecting points, I'm going to draw more parallel lines and find the intersecting point down there. All right, so I have the thickness for the handle. Now maybe I can add the details, such as the radius for the handle. And my radius is going to be starting from here and finishing down here. It's going to be tangential curve. Like that. And let's add a radius down here. We're going to do the same, decide the size of your radius, and then connect those two intersecting points with a tangential line. maybe that bottom part could blend. And I'm adding a little bit of line weight so that the handle part is more visible. I guess I'm running out of ink. And let's go back to the front bit. Let's decide the angle of that triangle. So it's going to be roughly something like that. And I can add tiny little radiuses. And a material thickness. The more detail that you add, the more realistic it will look. So in reality, as you know, you can't make the plastic paper thin. It's going to have slight thickness, like a millimeter or two. And I'm adding that detail up here. Okay. So let's continue adding more details, such as we can trim the surface and show the container how much water we have. And it has to be 90 degrees to this handle, which means it has to be on this line right here. And the height of that opening could be about that much. Again, the line material thickness will be visible on that side. So that is why I'm putting two lines and then connecting them with a small radius. Okay. What else? We can add a thickness for our handle, or we can do the cord part. Maybe we can add the cord detail. So I'm going to trim the surface, and the cable can come out from here, and try to keep it natural. So it will go perpendicular, and then because of the weight of the cord, it will touch the table. That is why it's going to create this nice S-curve. Maybe then afterwards it can bounce back from the table. So the curve is going to be something going straight, going down, and up again. And we're going to add the thickness. I'm adding those radiuses. All right, and we're going to design the lid part. I'm going to place another ellipse that is offset of this top surface, and the width is going to be about that much. First, copy that that circle, that ellipse, and then place your smaller ellipse inside. Okay, it's okay to do multiple passes. Your eye will catch the see the correct ellipse. So don't worry about making any mistakes. There's always we will always have a chance to fix those mistakes. And the lid part is going to be on this axis, and the thickness is going to be that much, but it should be wide enough to put our fingers inside. Okay, so that's where we're going to open it and remove the lid. And we're going to have a small button here to turn it on and off on the handle bit, or you can put a button down there, it's up to you. I'm going to make it an elliptical button, slightly raised, and maybe truncated, tapered. And what else? We can add this corner here, that edge there, it will be visible. We can have some rubber feet. And we're going to add the thickness for our handle. So let's say it shouldn't be too thick, otherwise it will be difficult to hold. I'm going to make it about that much. And I'm going to offset the outer edges. So it should be the same thickness. And then I'm going to add the similar radiuses. It should go to the same direction, which is that way. And it should have the same thickness. And maybe I can add a radius right here. Okay, I guess we are done with its details. What else we can add? We have the button, the cord, the feet, the lid. I guess we are ready to render. About the material choice, the lid will be a rubber material, rubberized material, so it's going to have a really soft transition. The container part, including the handle, it's going to have a glossy plastic effect, and whereas the charging dock is going to be matte plastic. And cord is going to be similar to the lid, it's going to be more rubberized look. And our button is going to be also glossy plastic, but in different color. So those are the materials that we're going to use. And that's about it for the sketch part. Okay, so now it's time to render our electric kettle. So for this to render, we need some additional materials compared to our previous tutorial. I'm going to use exactly the same color as I did with my hand mixer tutorial. I'm going to have this E43 color, the orange color for the switch, the button, and I'm going to use the darker version of E43, which is E44. So for this part, and I will need the standard underlay colors E1, T1, T3, T5. And for the shadow, I will be using T7 and black color. And maybe just in case, I will keep T9. For the background, instead of using pink, I'm going to use teal blue color, BG18. By the way, this is a different Copic marker. It's called Copic Sketch, not the classical ones. This part is same as my markers, other classic markers, but whereas the other side is more have the brush feeling. So it's slightly different than the classic markers. But if you accidentally bought the Copic sketch markers, that's fine. As I said, we will be mostly using the wider bit. So apart from these colors, we will use white pencil to add highlights for our soft matte plastic, and black pencil to darken our matte plastic. And for glossy plastic to add highlights, we're going to use white ink pen or correction pen. And we will be using refill inks, not to refill our markers, but to create a soft transition, and we needed a cotton. So those are the materials that we will be using. And we will be starting with refill ink and the cotton. So by using cotton and refill ink, we want to create a nice soft gradient look over here and on this cylindrical surface. If I use my marker, since it's a big sketch, those lines will be very visible because the tip is very small. Instead, what I'm going to do is to create a soft transition, I'm going to pour some ink on my cotton so it will become a nice big marker, and then apply that ink on that paper. And if I apply 2 layers, it will darken. But as I said, since it's wide, the transition will appear much softer. What else? My line weight has to be consistent with the use of marker. So if this side is darker, I have to make this side lighter. So I will keep this side untouched, and towards here I will darken my object. And once I applied that soft transition, on top of that I can apply darker colors like T5 or a little bit more T3 to add some more reflections, such as the reflection of the handle. But starting from here, that center line, I'm going to apply T3, and then towards here I'm going to apply T1 and fade out and create a nice gradient. And over here I will apply about 1 layer of T3. Okay, so you will get your cotton. Let's start with T1. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pour a line of T1 color here. And afterwards, starting from the center line, I'm going to apply a couple of layers towards the center and 1 or 2 layers towards the right hand side. And over here, I'm going to apply T1 as well, but towards the edge, I'm going to keep it lighter. In this part where the light is hitting, it will create this nice glare look. That is why I'm keeping it untouched. But here it's going to appear darker. And the other thing that you could do is you can extend that marker down here, because it will look like a reflection of the kettle. Then once you're done with the T1, we can apply some T3. I will use the same cotton and pour T3. Make sure your lines are straight. And keeping that part slightly darker. All right. And I can darken this bit further with T5. And same over here where the handle part, the handle will reflect on this container part, so it will appear dark here. Don't worry, we will tidy up those edges, and once we add the background, it will look much cleaner. So getting the transitions softer is much more important. Don't ever just stop using your marker right in the middle. Just take it all the way to the end. Creating cleaner lines are more important. Alright, so what else with the container part? I guess that's all with the container, the main container part. This part is going to be matte plastic, so I won't be using the same reflections as I use over here, but it still has to be consistent with this part, which means still it will be lighter here, and towards the edges it will get darker, but it will be much softer transition. Maybe I can blend this part a bit more. I can get my T1 marker and apply it right over here and mix it with T3. Okay, so this part, as I said, we will keep it dark but softer transition. Over here it will be one layer of T3, and then it can get lighter, darker, 2 or 3 layers of T3, then T5 or even T7 towards the edge. First I will go over those edges. So one layer of T3, and then we already have some T3 here. And I will switch to T5, and it will get darker. To blend it further, you can apply some more T3 where your T5 starts. And as I said, towards the edge, it's going to be T7. It will get even darker. So there's going to be a small radius. And using T5, I'm going to blend those two gray colors. Alright, so we can leave it, and once it's dry we can tidy up its edges. Don't apply any more ink. And then while it's getting dry, we can darken the handle part and the spout part. So the front surface of my cube was T1, so it's lighter here or untouched, and the top part is going to be T3. top flat surface is going to be T3, and this side, the right hand side, is going to be T5. So we can apply T5 right here. So apply your T5 where the radius starts. And it's going to be just a flat color, no gradient. And same with this part. The inner part of the spout is facing right hand side, so it's going to be T5. And there's a small radius, so I'm going to leave a white line and then apply T5. And same here, I'm going to leave some white space here, white area, and then continue darkening it. And then I'm going to add another T5 where my radius finishes. So because of the transition, it will slowly get lighter. And the back part of the of my kettle is going to be the darkest, and it's going to have a small radius where the handle is. And I'm applying T5 on those edges. Same here. It's going to be a very small radius. Okay. What else? Maybe the bottom part can be T7. Or maybe 2 or 3 more layers of T5. Again, put T5 where the radius starts and then add more at the bottom. What else? The shadow of this container. Actually, the reflection, this container will reflect on this handle part. That part could be darker with T3. Same on this part, slightly. We don't have to exaggerate. And some more T5. This bottom part of the handle is going to be dark as well. I'm leaving a small line there. If you didn't leave it, don't worry about it. We can add highlight later on. But since it's facing down, downwards, that radius, that's why it's going to appear darker. All right. And so the surface that are facing right hand side is appearing in T5, and surface that are facing top will appear in T3 color. So let's get our T3. And starting with our button, the top surface of that button could be T3. But that front bit is going to be white. And the right hand side of that button is going to be T5. So again, I'm leaving some white reflections there. All right, so the top part is going to be T3. And what I'm doing is I'm adding some reflections, white reflections as well. So that we can add a white reflection here. and the top part of the handle is going to be T3. And again, I'm adding some white reflection here and there. Another detail is that button is going to have a dark orange color, and it will reflect on this surface of that top handle, and which means that button is going to appear darker on this surface. So I'm adding that small detail. All right, the lid part is going to be rubberized material, a dark black material, but I will use T7 and then apply apply black on the darker areas. First, go over that ellipse. Feel free to rotate your paper. And as I said, we can darken it a bit further later on. Right, the cord part. That could be flat black. And the part that cord comes out is going to be black as well. I know it looks flat black, but we will highlight it with our white pencil later on, so don't worry about it. And we can darken this part after we apply our E43 on the container part. For now, let's leave it as it is. We can add the shadow of our cord with T7. So my shadow is going to be touching ground over here, so which means my shadow and the cord will be overlapping here, but then again there will be a gap here. It will kind of follow the same curve, but as I said, since the cord is touching there, they should overlap. I'm going to drop the shadow of the Kettle later on to tidy up these edges. For now, let's leave it as it is, and I'm going to drop the shadow using T7. Okay, now we can start adding some colors to our container using E43. As I said, I will leave this part untouched. It's going to have that nice high reflection highlight effect, and starting from here, maybe I can add more layers. And maybe add white line and a little bit of E43. And second layer. And apply more layer of E43 where it's darker. So this is also what happens when the ink is still wet. So normally it's better to wait. Okay, as you can see, I'm applying only one layer of the E43 towards the edges. Since it's a glossy plastic, it will be more highlighted, and also not applying any ink at all on this side where the light is hitting. And we can apply E43 right here. Top bit is going to be E43. And the handle part is going to be E43. And same on the side. All right, this part is going to be E43, but we're going to add some nice white reflections. So, and I'm going to render it diagonally. First, let's mask those darker areas, and then apply E43. All right, and we can color the switch, on-off switch, with the orange color. And I'm leaving that part white. And add some more reflections on that top part with T5. Okay, we can render this bottom part with E44. And apply more layers towards the edges, and towards the center you can apply only one layer. the rubber feet. Let's try T7 or T even darker towards the object. The shadows will look darker, and I will render those rubber feet with black color, and then apply the shadow. But let's wait till it's dry, and I'm going to apply the shadow with T7. So when dropping the shadow of this container over here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to replicate the same ellipse down here somewhere on the right hand side, because the light is coming from left hand side, which means its shadow is going to be on the right hand side. And I'm guessing that the shadow will be somewhere here. So same ellipse, maybe slightly smaller because of the perspective. And then I will try to connect those tangent points with my object here, with that ellipse here. Same here. Yeah. Add the second layer. And drop the shadow of the container down here. I guess this part is dry. We can apply black. Okay, we're almost done with the marker, and I can darken it a bit further by applying T9 to tidy up those edges and make those details more visible. Same down here. This inner part of my opening is going to show the material thickness. That part could be darkened with T5. And yeah, this part over here. I'm using T7. and T9. This part of the surface, that tiny bit, is going to appear dark because it won't receive any light, and same on these edges. And towards here it will get lighter because the light will is coming from this direction and hitting this surface, and inside here it will be hitting that surface on the right hand side. And let's get our white pencil, and we're going to create these rubber effect on this part. So the light will be hitting this flat white surface. What you can do is you can use the paper to mask that edge to create this nice sharp look, and highlight this part with your white pencil. Same with the inner part. So this part is not flat, it's curved. That is why we're going to apply that gradient effect. So it's going to be lighter in this middle part, the center part, and then it will fade out. Let's check. Okay. And again with your T9, you can go over that edge. And we're going to do the same thing down here. It's a matte plastic, therefore it's going to be soft transition. And with my black pencil, I'm going to darken towards the edges. Again, I'm applying gradient, but this time with black pencil. Moreover, I'm doing the same with the shadow of the cord. It will cast its shadow, but with black pencil. And what else? We have a radius here. Before that, let me get my T5 or even T7 and darken the bottom bit, or maybe T5. Let's try T5 first. If it's not dark enough, we can apply T7. So because of the radius, that part is going to appear darker. And same here. So that container part will slightly cast its shadow on this part line, but also there's a small radius here, and it will be highlighted with white pencil. And the cord part, especially the light will be gathered where it's more curved, such as it's curved over here. So I'm applying more white here, and it's curved down here, and it will collect more light. So this part is glass, and I'm going to reflect that sky on this glass. Again, I'm going to use paper to create a cleaner lines. All right. So as I said, this part, you don't have to worry about it. It will look as if it's the reflection of the kettle. And even I can add some more reflection of this kettle over here, T1. This part is darker, so it will reflect darker with T3. And it will fade out. So it's going to be 2 layers of T3 and 1 layer towards the bottom. White ink pen. I have to use my correction pen, unfortunately, but if your white ink pen is brand new, I recommend using white ink pen to create cleaner lines, but I have to use the correction pen to apply some white reflections, and they have to be diagonal, same as this angle. We can apply some white ink pen right here. So the radius over here, it will gather some light. And same up here. and the inner part of the handle. And we can put some white reflections up down here. We will have some reflections on the left hand side of our top surface. And maybe on the button here. And also on this edge as well. Again, this one is facing left hand side, so it should look highlighted. If you don't have any white reflections over here, if you forget to put it, you can just add with your white ink pen. All right, and maybe the inner part right there. Okay, let's see. Oh, we forgot to put some down here. Okay, because the light is coming from top left, so it will hit this edge here, but not the edge at the top. I'm going to exaggerate that gradient a bit more. And darken this part with my pencil further. And we can apply the background. When I'm applying the background, I'm imagining as if it's standing right next to a wall. So my wall will be right there. And if the light is coming from left hand side, which means I'm going to have a tea color right here on the right hand side of my container, my kettle. And that could be T3 or T5. So let's try T5. And this will help me to tidy up those edges and create a cleaner look. And I'm going to apply BG18, the teal blue color, as a background color. Paper is a nice tool to mask when you're rendering. it helps us to create a cleaner edge. Let's not forget the inner part of our handle. Okay, so we can start adding our background. As I said, I'm imagining this as a teal blue colored wall. It will be much faster if you have white Copic marker. I believe that's all about it. We have every single detail that is needed. We have the highlights, we have the shadows. So that's all about it for this week. When you're doing this tutorial, feel free to change the shape. You can do more curved form if you want. You don't need a straight edge. I recommend straight edge because with the paper you can mask those edges and have a cleaner rendering. But as I said, it's up to you. You can make it slightly rounded or change the handle shape. It could be much longer, so it's up to you. But try to do this tutorial and have this matte plastic and glossy plastic effect. And when you're applying that glossy plastic effect, use the cotton to spread the ink. And moreover, you should have rubber surfaces, like as I have for the lid and the cord, and glossy and matte plastic, and a background color. So if you have any questions, again, send me an email, or you can write under the comment section of this video. Okay. Have a wonderful day.